Hi, so today's episode's entirely in the studio and I just thought I would run through the practical application of lens movements in studio product photography. It's not a deep dive, it's literally I'm setting up some products on tabletop and using my Cambo Actus view camera, which takes my Sony A7R5 or any Sony E-mount camera. It's an E-mount on the back of this. You can put a digital back on the back of here, whatever you want to put on here. And it's basically, I'm going to demonstrate why you would use either a camera such as this or a shift lens, which most probably is more accessible to most people, to photograph products in the studio using focus displacement. It's a system which is it employs the Scheimpflug principle, the Scheimpflug rule, where you have planes in parallel, and hopefully I will demonstrate why you would want to use it from a technical perspective to get things really sharp and properly in focus, and from a creative perspective where you want to place your focus where you want to place it. And we're not going to be using depth of field as in f-stops to achieve what we want to achieve. We're achieving it through lens movement. So hopefully the next amount of minutes will demonstrate that to you, and then we'll review it at the end and you can see it before and after. I'm going to do a shot where we shoot at f16, and then we're going to do a shot where we shoot using lens movements, and I'll show you the two different shots. Identical subject, identical image, but one with this and one with just straightforward f-stop. So without further ado, let's get into studio and set the shot up. So here we are in the studio with the Cambo Actus. My Cambo Actus has got a Actar lens on it, which is f4 to f22. I generally use the lens, well, depending on what the use case is. Sometimes I want very shallow depth of field and that sort of stuff, but generally, if I want to do a straightforward product shot, which needs to be sharp all the way through, I'll be using f11, f16, and then I'll be using lens movements to make sure everything's perfectly sharp. Now, what I thought we'd do first here is demonstrate initially how f-stop alone deals with this particular image. And then you'll have a direct comparison to what f-stop is doing, and how we then use creative selective focus using the Scheimpflug rule to achieve focus where we want the focus to be. What you'll find is, when I stop down now, and I'll call out the f-stops as I'm stopping down, that obviously f-stop is a catch-all. As you go down the f-stops and the hole becomes smaller, everything starts to become sharper, which is not what we want in this particular instance. This is a technical exercise and a creative exercise. As you can see from the image we have here, I focused on the 50mm lens in the foreground, which is pin sharp, and then at f4 the focus quickly falls off and you are left with out of focus back end of camera and the out of focus lens in the background. So what I'm going to do next is show you how the f-stop affects the image. And just by the way, I'm using auto ISO on the A7R5 so that the image doesn't dim as I'm stopping down. The f-stop, the ISO increases just to maintain the exposure so you can see what's happening on the back of the camera. So let's go to the image now and start stopping down. So I'm going to zoom in a second so you can see that the .50mm lens is focused on the digits on the front of the lens barrel, and as you go to the left you can see how out of focus the FM2 and Nikon lettering is. So this is f4, that's f5.6, f8, f11 and f16. And as you can see, all of the image has got much sharper. And if I zoom in here and go back to the 50mm lens, you can see those digits are nice and sharp, as one would expect. And as you go then towards the Nikon body, you can see how much sharper the Nikon is, but also how much sharper the background lenses are. So what we'll do next is use a swing of the front lens element, which will follow the angle of the 50mm lens through to the logo on the FM2. So I'm going to open back up to f4. So there we have the image at f4 again. And zoom in to the letters on the 50mm. Make sure they're nice and sharp. And I'm going to scroll across. And I'm now going to start to swing the front lens element to follow the direction of the 50mm lens through to the FM2. And this is all at f4. So here we go. So there's the FM2, really sharp, and just using the swing of the camera. This is at f4. And if I scroll along to the 50mm, you will see that these are also sharp. And as you scroll along, the FM2 is sharp along that plane. And most importantly, those back lenses are nicely out of focus. So we've achieved a technical accuracy with focus and a creative look for the lenses in the background. And that's what total control of your plane of focus gives you. What I will do now is I'll slightly stop down, because if I just zoom into this area here, you can see that because we've gone through a narrow plane of focus, the f-stop, just stopping down slightly, will mop up the back of the camera body and the front of the camera body. So if I just stop down slightly, so f5.6, f8. And there you have a nice sharp looking camera, and the 50mm lens is nice and sharp. But more importantly, the lenses in the background are still nicely out of focus. And we haven't affected that look, and we've now got that separation working well for us. What we'll do now, we'll review this now and I'll print out two images. I'll print out an image which was simply f16, where I focused on the front letters on the 50mm, and I then stopped down to f16, and we'll have a look at that. And then we'll do another print, which you then can compare using the Scheimpflug principle, which demonstrates when you swing the front lens element, you can bring everything that you want, because it's all about control. You can bring everything that you want into focus whilst keeping the elements you want out of focus. Because you're in control, you're the creative, you're the photographer, this is what you want to achieve. So let's have a review of that. I went for a retro 80s look because that's where the FM2 comes from. So the red background, because obviously the red room, and that's what I do. But I thought, well, I'm not going to, it's just a demonstration of displacement of focus. And hopefully you can see from this how using a shift lens or the Cambo Actus or similar sort of camera with lens movements, how you can achieve a far superior image which has total control of where you want to place the focus and where you don't want to place the focus, i.e. nice softness in the background here on the lenses and critical sharpness going through that plane there from the FM2 logo here right the way through to the lens here. And so on the screen now, so this is the shot at f16 with no lens movements. And then this is the shot at f8, but with lens movements. And you can see that the shot at f16 hasn't captured everything we need with regard to our focus points. And also, very crucially, it hasn't kept the lenses in the background nice and smooth with their out of focus area. However, the shot which is using lens movements, which I shot at f8, is critically sharp across the plane of focus with regard to the lens, the 50mm lens and the FM2 body, and has maintained a lovely smooth focus on the lenses in the background. And basically, this is what you need to be doing if you're offering high-end product photography in the studio to clients who demand their products look as they are. I think if you're coming into the marketplace, it's a differentiation as well to your competitors. So if you're shooting in today's marketplace where it's incredibly competitive, but you can demonstrate a technical knowledge, I think that gives you the edge, especially when working with agencies and clients who demand their products look perfect. And I think the end results speak for themselves. So hopefully this has been useful to you. Hopefully, if I have some younger viewers, I'm hoping it'll be really useful to you, because you can pick up a shift lens, tilt shift lens, fairly cheaply in the marketplace. Certainly a few £100 for a second-hand one if you can find one. And I think it'll just allow you to experiment more in the studio with your product photography. Any questions, please do ask them below, and I'm happy to answer them. But it's been I always enjoy being in the studio. It's where I'm most probably in my happiest, I'd have thought, photographing things, because that's what I do. But also, hopefully it demonstrates how AI can't achieve this. This is pure physics. It's light, it's geometry, and there's still a place for it in today's market. Now, that could have been a film camera or a digital camera, but this is analog in its application. And it gives you an advantage over AI. And I think as photographers, we're all scrambling for a little piece of advantage. And this is a place where it gives you it. This is a shot straight out of a camera. Nothing has been done to this. These are 2 shots which I clicked, you saw me shoot them, and I've printed them. That's it. And I could have shot this on film, or digital, as I've done here, and they would both look identical. Nothing would have changed. It's an analog process using a digital camera. That's what it is. And I think we need to hold on to these things because they're skills which all as photographers can keep and offer to our clients, and hopefully keep at bay that AI for a bit longer. So let's all have a little experiment with it. And as I said, happy to answer any questions. So anyway, you have a good week. I think we've got great weather coming out, so I'm going to try and get back out again. I think it's going to be nice and warm, so that'll be fun. And we'll see you on the next episode. So you take care, and cheerio for now.